And welcome back, guys, to another episode of Katawa Shoujo. In the last part, Lily has taken us out to dinner to a very fancy and European restaurant. She's in a wonderful red dress, so it doesn't matter to us, even though we can't read the menu. So let's get right to it. I shouldn't complain about it, though. Not many even have the chance to go to such a school. Do you resent your parents for sending you there? Then leaving? She gently shakes her head. My family is highly practical. My father, business always on his mind, was entirely lost as to what to do with me. In the end, he made the decision that my education was of higher priority than staying with the family. He simply did what he thought was best. To say such things so easily, what an unbelievable girl. That said, I'm a little surprised she doesn't think her blindness played any part at all, though maybe I'm being too harsh on her family. You're too kind-hearted, you know that? Most would hate their parents for something like that. Well, some do. Oblivious to my raised eyebrow, she takes a sip of her glass. The wine slips down effortlessly, her fondness for it eventually helping her deal with the flavor of alcohol. I can't say the same goes for me. Aren't they having like champagne or something like that? It's a little bit different than wine. It's been a couple days since I've recorded, so I actually have forgotten what they ordered, but I thought they ordered champagne or something like that. So, and I hear that you should never compare the two, because champagne is obviously, it has bubbles, it's carbonated. But regardless. What of yourself? What was your schooling like? Mine? Let's see. It was a fairly normal public school, I suppose. Maybe a bit busier than the norm. I did quite well in class and played in the soccer club. Since I am an only child and my parents both worked a lot, I wasted most of my free time and money at the arcade with my 3 friends. No matter how much I played, though, I never did manage to beat Mai at any of those machines. Even Takumi and Shin lost to her whenever they tried. Then I'd be left trying to be the responsible adult when Shin and Mai fought. Again. Just the 4 of us, aimlessly enjoying our childhood. Those were some pretty silly times. I catch myself as I realize that I'm starting to zone out. The days of my old school disappearing to the night sky and bright city lights outside the window. Lily's face is an odd mixture of curiosity and sympathy. Given her strict schooling, I suppose something like this would seem an interesting contrast to the only life she's known. It sounds like your previous school was a lot of fun. I'm not really sure how much of it is nostalgia, but there are some nice memories. That's the past, though. I can't go back there now, but through my accident, I found a new life I'd never have imagined leading. The peace and calm of Yumaku, a new direction for my future in science, the friendship of Shizune, Misha, and Hanako, and most of all, you. She gives a deep, genuine smile as she moves her hands towards me, her fingers just lightly searching out my face before softly caressing my cheek. Aww. Her hand reluctantly retreats after a second of warm silence as we notice the waiters arriving with our meals. Lily does a deft job of covering her condition, except for the fact that her nod to him is slightly misaligned due to his silence. She really seems to work hard at appearing as normal as possible in public. While I noticed it long ago, I still can't quite gauge whether it's a want to not be treated differently, a slight sense of vanity, or some mixture of both. The dish served lives up to the salad name, and the portion is pleasantly large, with sliced egg and tomato. It looks very enticing indeed. Lily takes her knife in one hand and fork in the other, quickly getting to work on the dish as I do. It's later than we usually have dinner, so we're both eager to dig in. Aw, she got a little bit in her cheek. That's cute. My cautious skewering of Lee's and vaguely meat-like squares with my fork is matched by Lily's silent, measured prodding and chewing. An occasional tap around the side of a piece of the food to work out its edges is the only giveaway for her lack of sight. I'm done with my meal in a little time. Lily takes the last few bites as I sit observing her. Finished, Asao? Yeah, it was pretty good. That much is very true. I never thought a simple salad could be so tasty and filling. But then again, I suppose that's why it costs so much to eat here. Yeah, actually, one of my favorite things is Caesar salad and steak. It's like, so good. Like, you mix the two together, oui, since we're in company of French cuisine, I guess. Content with my appraisal and evidently agreeing, Lily gives a small nod. You know, given that you're part foreign, exotic looking, and quite pretty, I'm surprised that nobody ever confessed to you before. You're assuming nobody did. The simple statement takes me off guard. I shouldn't be surprised, given that I was complimenting her just a moments before. Really? I've received several confessions, both in this school and my previous one. Adolescence is a funny time. She's kind of talking as if she's above it herself. Huh. How easily you say such a thing. Lily looks surprised for a moment before a playful smirk covers her face. Is that jealousy? What? No, it isn't. You're a bad liar, Hisao. You should take that into account. Then again, I do appreciate how sincere you are, even if you don't intend to be, sometimes. I think your honesty will always serve you well when dealing with others. I clear my throat in mock disapproval of this whole business and try to steer the conversation elsewhere. To tell you the truth, though, I do prefer solitude to being surrounded by others. I don't think I could maintain a social circle like you do. She contemplates this for a moment. I don't think that's true either. I've seen how gentle and caring you are around Hanako, and you get on marvelously with others, even those whom you hardly know. I think you're quite adept at social situations. But on that note, what of your confessions, Hisao? I'm not sure someone like you must have had at least one admirer. As I open my mouth to speak, I can feel my face turning slightly dour. At times like this, I secretly appreciate the fact that she can't see my expressions. Just one. Her name was Iwanako. It was when she confessed to me that I had my heart attack there in the woods during winter. Lily finds herself speechless, not expecting for the topic to move in such an area. My condition has always been something of a concern for her, something that I strive to minimize despite my body's best efforts to do the contrary. Afterwards, she visited me for a while when I was in the hospital. For weeks she came in and talked. It was usually just small talk or classroom gossip, but that was enough. But eventually, she just stopped coming. She was there every day, then every other day, and once a week, and finally one day, she just stopped visiting entirely. Did you ever see her again? Wrapped up in my own little world, I shake my head before remembering the futility of the gesture. Mention the letter, dropping the subject seems like a silly thing. Like, she just mentioned how she likes us being fucking honest, you know? Like, why would you be like, you know what? Now's the time to hold back. Now, obviously, her face, you know, like she's inquiring about something that may change her outlook on something, but I'm sorry. I don't know, I'm an honest guy, personally, so I can't not mention it. Yeah, I'll mention the letter. The memories of that single letter Iwanako sent me comes back to my mind. I never saw her again, but after I was sent to Yamaku, she wrote me one letter. Lily's face shows an expression I know well, I've piqued her interest. I'd be slightly offended that it's simply a matter of curiosity for her, but she's never been very good at masking her reactions. In hindsight, it really didn't say much. What was going on in my old class, how she was faring, and almost as if an afterthought, that it was probably best for both of us that we don't see each other again. After reading it, I ended up reassessing a lot of things I thought I'd managed to work out. For the most part, that letter reminded me that the world around me was still moving, and just how much I'd become isolated from it. And I guess it also reminded me of what I'd lost. She gives the information some thought before her face lights up in realization. No doubt she worked out that it was this letter which had contributed to my angst during the lunch on the rooftop. It's a rare sight to see Lily quite so lost for words. Her entire persona is a little deflated from her earlier rapt interest. As charismatic as she is, in the end, it isn't any replacement for life nor relationship experience. Perhaps it is better she sent it than not. How's that? It can be difficult to work out how best to communicate with those you haven't met in a long time. All the more so considering your separate situations. Instead of doing what was easiest, she built up the courage to talk to you one last time, not only for her sake, from how it sounds, for yours as well. Maybe. I don't hate her for it. Not that I really ever did, but I don't know. Probably a more non-committal answer than I should give, but it isn't without cause. I've never looked at the situation from Yunako's perspective like that before. Seconds pass in silence before Lily speaks again. Moving to Yamaku must have been hard for you, having your friends and even your girlfriend taken from you for no fault of your own. The worst of it passed while I was in the hospital, when all that surrounded you is the 4 white walls and a small television. Your mind takes on a life of its own. It's like my old school, I guess. I just try not to dwell on what's happened and keep thinking ahead. All that reminiscing does is get me down, and it's largely thanks to you that it feels like things are finally getting back on track. That's pleasing to hear, Hisao. She lowers her face slightly, her expression pensive. I guess I went too far and embarrassed her. But no, that's just how things work, right? Is for a really long time, wallowing in the past is something that we do quite a lot, just as human beings. People do it to various degrees, but the idea of hindsight and just thinking about the small choices that had big ramifications can get us into a perpetual state of depression in a sense, because you're always thinking, man, if I had just said this one thing differently, if I had just said I used a different word, then the universe would have gone in a completely different direction. And then you think about what would have happened if you had done that, and then you get sucked into this reality that doesn't actually exist anymore. Or it will never exist in at least your life, because time keeps moving forward. You can't rewind yet. Now, obviously, maybe we'll find out time travel by the time some of you watch this video, if it stays up on the internet forever. But it is one of those things that, though it's probably the scariest and and really the most depressing thing that our lives can sometimes actually commit to, it's important that we know that every situation and every choice that you make in life leads to a different path. One that may be bad at first and turn good, or vice versa, right? It's always that flux. But do I believe in destiny? Not particularly, but at the same time, if something good has happened to you before, there's nothing stopping something good from happening to you again, right? And that's how I see it anyway. She lowers her face slightly, her expression pensive. I guess I went too far and embarrassed her. I suppose you went through something a bit like what I did when you entered Yamaku anyway, right? I imagine the vast majority of our school students did, after all. You said yourself that you made friends in your old school. I can't imagine many followed you. Lily's deep smile drops, her expression unexpectedly darkening, even her hands retreating to her lap. After a long while, she speaks. Hisao, can you promise not to tell anyone else what I'm about to? I promise. She looks slightly taken aback by my serious tone, but then relents and smiles weakly before continuing. When I moved to Yamaku, I did regret losing the friends I'd had at my other school. But there was one person who I most regretted not seeing again. He was the reason I took up English as a future career. He? Considering she came from an all-girls school, that can't have been a schoolmate then. I rejected the confessions I received until then for him. Every time I improved my English skills, his praise was my most treasured reward. It's funny, isn't it? Someone like me, able to boast about the people who have set eyes on me, liking someone so utterly unattainable as my tutor. It truly is the most ridiculous thing. Did you? She quickly shakes her head from side to side. I couldn't. Even then, I knew it was impossible. A silence reigns over both of us. This does seem to explain her ardent focus on her future in teaching English, but I can't help thinking of her confession to me. She lost him without ever letting her feelings be known. Did she somehow fear that that would happen again? But with me? I don't really know what to make of it. I've heard of such relationships before, taboos born of such things as puberty and youth. The fact that she has the good judgment not to act on it, though, is heartening. I know this must sound strange, but please, don't think of me. Why would I think any less of you for that? To be honest, I think he must have been a very nice person if you liked him so much. Not only that, but you stopped yourself before going too far. For a moment, she looks somewhat lost. More unexpectedly, though, it isn't a second before she starts to laugh. The sound takes me off guard. It's not a giggle nor a restrained chuckle, but honest and genuine laughter. I find myself smiling, and not just as her display of relief and happiness, but for her to trust me enough to let me see this most private of secrets. Aww. Before I realize it, I feel her palm touching my face. Her touch is gentle as ever, with her thumb slowly stroking my cheek. You're kind, Hisao. I really do love you. Seeing her face like this, with her palm gently caressing my face, I think tonight has been a wonderful night. I guess we've both had pretty weird pasts, eh? I think by most standards, our present is rather odd as well. I smile and hang my head. This woman can easily run rings around me. Of that, I'm quite sure. I look back around the room with its continuing quiet hum of patrons. This place probably fits into that odd category, too. It is a tad overbearing. That's one word for it, yes. I catch the eye of a scurrying waiter, a short, scrawny guy, no older than 20. He's kind of reminds me of Kenji, though unlike him, the waiter isn't dressed for winter during midsummer. Yo, man, this better not happen. Don't ruin this mood with fucking Kenji. Though seeing Kenji in a waiter's outfit would be funny, but I don't think he is prepared for that. After a curt bow and an offer to remove our plates, Lily asks for the bill politely and softly. With expert coordination, he maneuvers around the tables, our plates in hand, to retrieve our bill. In no time, he reappears through the doors, smartly handing our bill to Lily, who promptly hands it to me, causing him to raise an eyebrow. As I read the small computer-printed leaflet, the cost is considerably more than I expected. Hisao? Oh, I quickly stammer out the amount, to which Lily merely nods and reaches for her purse. Given her card to the waiter, he disappears once again. That was a disproportionately large amount of money. The statement seems to make Lily slightly uncomfortable. My family leaves me more than enough for my education. The same goes for my sister, though she dislikes being reminded of that fact. That said, I too dislike throwing money about, but this one time I think I can make an exception, just for you. Not only did you choose our date, but you paid for both of us as well. I take the bridge of my nose to my fingers. I can't believe how high you have set the bar for our next date. She gives a small giggle. I'll be looking forward to it, Asao. The waiter reappears beside us, as if by magic, and hands Lily's card back to her. Evidently picking up on her lack of sight, he places the card in her hand with an extra, perhaps unneeded amount of firmness to make sure of her grip. Leaving, he exercises a measure of diplomacy by keeping a neutral face despite my own expression. Clapping my hands together, I stand up from my seat in order to bring an end to our night out. Shall we be off then, m'lady? Oh god. All he needs is a fedora, dude. Yeah. I think with that, we'll call it a day. I guess we've fallen out of bed. Hopefully we're not having another heart attack. That would be terrible. But anyway, I'll see you guys. Oh god, I took a swig of water there, and I'm trying to keep it together. But anyway, take care, guys. Stay frosty. I'll see you tomorrow.